Hello my lovelies, hello my darlings. Right, my daughter, Daisy, reckons that I should read to people. Obviously there's a copyright issue there if I was reading stories and stuff like that. However, I have a zine that I picked up when I was in Hambacher Forest in Germany, Kirpen in Germany. RWE, an energy company. They've dug out an area, or back a couple of years ago, a few years ago, they dug out an area larger than Cologne to harvest, mine lignite coal, which, anyway, that's another story really. It's I think something like 70% of the energy that they get from the coal that they mine, brown coal, is used to buy it out. I think they're highly subsidised for getting this stuff out. It's all, well, anyway, we were there 2 years in a row actually, only for just over a week at a time, for an animal rights gathering there in the forest, to try and bring people together, raise awareness for environmental issues with animal rights activists, and also raise the animal rights, the plight of the animals within the environmental movement, and learn from each other. Anyway, while I was there, I was given a zine. It's called, well, it's anarchist approaches to crime and justice, and it's called What About The Rapists? Now, that's back to front, but I think it'd be quite interesting to read this. Now the contents: on crime, part 1, transformative justice, beautiful, difficult, powerful, chrysalis collective, accounting for ourselves, crime think, part 2, retribution, anarchist rapists gets the bat, we'll show you crazy bitches, part 2, and then communique, beyond revenge and reconciliation, or reconciliation, demolishing the straw men. That's the contents. Okay. Now this zine looks at contemporary anarchist theory and practice on crime and justice, though it won't be using these terms. The first half will be a critical examination of transformative justice, or transformative justice-based accountability processes, an approach with origins in US anarchist circles now taking seed in parts of Europe. The other half looks at retributive approaches, such as survivor-led direct action against rapists. On crime, argues that we need to reconsider what we understand as problem behaviour before searching for solutions. In doing so, it attempts to lay the conceptual ground for the subsequent discussions. Beautiful, difficult, powerful presents an accountability process in detail. It is a zine in its own right. A zine, as in magazine. It is a zine in its own right, and has been taken from the book The Revolution Starts at Home, Confronting Intimate Violence Within Activist Communities. Accounting for Ourselves gives an excellent overview of the history and difficulties of accountability processes. Written by the anarchist collective Crime Think, it is very much rooted in US punk and DIY culture. Anarchist Rapist Gets the Bat and Communique are statements written by groups in the US who have taken direct action to physically confront their rapists. Beyond Revenge and Reconciliation seeks to draw together the points of disagreement and lessons learnt to help develop a pragmatic and anti-dogmatic approach to dealing with oppressive behaviour in our communities. So, On Crime by A. Legal. The title of this zine comes from a question frequently asked of anarchists. The question presents a powerful challenge to anarchist ideas, as we have neglected to engage meaningfully with the issue in favour of idealised notions of a post-capitalistic a post-capitalistic anarchic future. Post-capitalist anarchic future. The concern should not be restricted to rapists and other sexual offenders, but understood to encompass other forms of abusive behaviour such as domestic violence, child abuse and animal abuse. As we'll see later, most acts currently considered crimes have been left out of this piece, either because they are relatively minor and can be addressed without too much difficulty, or wouldn't be understood as a problem or a crime in the absence of the state. The vast majority of offences come under these last two categories. Consider, for example, possession of a bladed article, fraud, or failure to observe conditions of leave to remain in a country, to cite just a few examples. Why we need to talk about crime. Yet the fact that many of today's offences would not be understood as a problem under anarchy does not excuse our failure to develop practical mechanisms for dealing with unacceptable behaviour. Despite the enormous scale of problems like gendered violence, anarchist responses are all too often either evasive, knee-jerk, or otherwise woefully inadequate. A common response when asked about what we would do is to simply repeat the trite refrain that most crimes would not be seen as such in anarchist terms. For example, in a society without property, fraud, theft and so on would no longer exist. While other crimes, for example rape and intimate partner violence, would be rare due to the strong and supportive social bonds and the radically different values that anarchism entails, i.e. a robust critique of gender, sexual norms and hierarchy in general. All this is true, but it is delusional to think that this implies a world without transgressions or oppressive behaviour. Far from being a hermetically sealed system, capitalism is a culture or constellation of cultures, an amalgam of values, desires and practices that affect how we relate to ourselves, each other and other species with whom we share this planet. Racism, patriarchy and over-exploitation of the land can equally be found in cultures that would not otherwise be understood as capitalist. Post-capitalist or non-capitalist societies would not be static entities either, but dynamic worlds in a state of perpetual growth and ongoing struggle against deeply incorporated capitalist desires and practices. The so-called overthrow of capitalism entails nothing less than financial collapse and a constant struggle against capitalist values. As such, even in a world without capitalism as an economic system buttressed by property law, we will still have to contend with unlearned oppressive behaviour, as well as issues we may feel we have little control over. These include abusive behaviour, rooted in biological predispositions, tendencies towards certain mental illnesses, or inferiority complexes, and conflicts driven by or mediated by scarcity and access to resources. Examples include conflicts fueled by housing needs, and even the role comrades' limited time and energy play in our responses to oppressive behaviour. Collapse of the capitalist economy and the growth of subjugated value systems, such as radical conceptions of gender and sexuality, would undoubtedly eventually diminish the scale of abuses. But this struggle against domination is, and always will be, a continual process. these oppressive behaviours are also just as much a part of the problem as government itself, i.e., our fight against abusive partners and rapists is just as critical as our fight against the sadistic, racist cops that come round to deal with them. In view of this, it makes little sense to wait for our moment, a crisis in government, the next economic crash, or talk about crime after the revolution. We need to build anarchist cultures here and now, fighting acts of domination and abuse every day. This means developing ideas and practices for responding to unacceptable behaviour taking place in our communities now. Class. Another reason we should not be dismissive of concerns about crime and criminal justice is that these issues overwhelmingly affect poor communities. Violent crime not only hits the poor hardest, but provides an excuse for social cleansing, in which all those that cannot be readily incorporated into the capitalist system of docile workers and consumers are dumped in our over-expanding prison system. Race. The criminal justice system also serves as the executive arm of the racist state. In the US, the country with the world's largest and greatest per capita prison population, that is, and an archetype for Britain and in other neoliberal friends, its other neoliberal friends, 1/3 of African American men are either in prison, on probation, or on parole. Here in the UK, the picture is not much brighter. Black people are 7 times more likely to be stopped and searched than their white counterparts, and make up 15% of the prison population, despite representing just 2.2% of the overall population. I don't know what the figures are now. This zine, as I said, is a few years old now, maybe about 5 years old. Patriarchy. As an anarchist, I'm against prisons, not least because they're anti-black and poor, but if we believe in solidarity and the unity of struggles, alternatives to prison, but if we believe in solidarity and the unity of struggles, then we, collectively, men included, need to be working on radical alternatives to prison that seek to address every woman's fear of gendered and sexual violence, harassment and intimidation, because these plagues are our daily reality. Right, I think I'm going to leave it there. There's certainly a lot of food for thought there. Definitely for anarchists and everybody. I think it would be great to hear your comments and see what people have to say in the discussions that may happen in the comments section. Everybody, please be kind, be respectful, be polite to each other. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there. We'll do another one, maybe just 15 minutes reading at a time. The next part here is called Reframing How We Think About Crime. So we'll get back to you and let me know what you think in the comments. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Follow along for Margot's adventures. I'm just waiting for Margot, my camper van, to come back from the garage having a new engine fitted, and then in a week or so we'll be hitting the road. And yeah, come and follow along with me. I'd really love to have you come along for the ride. Love to read your comments, hear your comments. So yeah, this is something a little bit different. I think